What's up, y'all? I am Raffinée Wilson, and welcome back to another edition of Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey,
Hey,
too busy, too busy, too busy Tuesday.
hey.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here yet another week, and I've got a special guest. If y'all been following me online, you've seen that we've got a special guest. Dr. Christi is here, and she's going to share with us. So let me introduce her so y'all know who is in the place. And then we're going to jump into this discussion. So, y'all should know that Dr. Christi Culpepper-Walker is an ambassador for Christ, a mental health professional, and y'all, she is a speaker. Okay. She's affectionately known as Dr. CC by her patients, and she is a licensed clinical psychologist
Mhm.
currently providing therapeutic services to children, adolescents, and their families in an outpatient mental health clinic in Baltimore, Maryland. Yes, MD. Dr. CC utilizes a range of evidence based therapeutic modalities, including cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, and family systems approaches. Now, if y'all don't know what any of those things are, it's totally fine. If
Yes,
you're not a mental health professional, we might talk about them a little later. We might not, just Google them or drop in the chat and we'll tell y'all what it is if you really want to know.
right.
Now, Dr. CC specializes in internalizing disorders. So these are things such as anxiety and depression, externalizing disorders such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, as well as family concerns such as divorce, co parenting concerns, and parent child conflict. So, what does that mean? She knows a lot of stuff, y'all. She's an expert in the field. That's what that means. Now, in addition to providing therapeutic services, Dr. CC also provides presentations and workshops on various topics to other providers as well as people in the community. Some of her topics include self care for mental health providers, the impact of mental health on overall functioning, health provider burnout, and the importance of being your authentic self, which is what
Yes.
we're going to be talking about today. So, y'all give it up, shout out, welcome, Dr. Christi. Yes.
Hey, everybody. I am really excited to be here. I've been watching Too Busy Tuesdays, right, since Raffinée got started. And so, I'm just ready to kind of jump in and
Yes.
talk about what I'm too busy for.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So listen, y'all, when we had our prep conversation to talk about this, she was ready. She was like, I already know what I want to talk about. And I was like, yes, come on, let's go. And Dr. Christy told me, you know what, Raffinée, I'm too busy for not being me. And so, will
Mhm.
you tell us a little bit about what that means for you? Like when you think
Yeah.
about, you know what, I don't have time to not be me.
Yes. So when Raffinate like contacted me, I was like, bet, got it. Cause I'm always doing like authenticity work, like always talking to either my patients, my friends, my family about showing up as yourself, right? In all
Mhm,
spaces. And
mhm.
that's something that, we don't do all the time, just everybody in general, but
Yeah.
especially in like communities of color. We don't
Mm,
always think we can show up as ourselves.
yeah.
And y'all, that's tiring, right? So we talk about like code switching, right? We talk about like, oh, this is my work persona, and oh, this is what professionalism is. And really, what it is, a lot of times, is wearing a mask. And
Mm,
so I have no time to wear a mask. I'm too busy. I got too much to
yes.
do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on. Me
Yeah.
too. I'm too busy
Yes.
as well. So tell me, Dr. Christie, like, how did you see this show up in your life previously? Like, was there a time
Mhm.
where you were wearing a mask or maybe code switching or not feeling the freedom to be you?
Listen, a lot of times, right?
Okay.
A lot of times on this life journey.
Yeah.
So probably one of the first times I can remember, I was in high school, senior, right? And I was salutatorian. And so, the veil and the
Hold
salve.
on. Pause. You were the salutatorian?
I
Come on.
was the salutatorian,
We're
yeah.
not going to blow past that. That's major.
Listen, my mom was a teacher. My dad was an engineer on the railroad, and so like education was important,
Got
right? So
it.
they were
Yeah.
like, "Listen, you gonna get your life together as far as education goes." And I liked school. I
Yeah.
was that kid that actually liked school for the most part, and I had good experiences in
Okay.
school, right? So senior year salutatorian, you got to do a speech. And
Mm,
I'm like, "Oh, wait, that's fancy, right? Like
right.
that's big time." So I didn't think, and I had been speaking, right? Like, of course, you take, speaking courses in high school. I had been speaking at church and at other people's churches, but I was like, this is graduation, right? Like I got to do something different.
Mm,
And when I think back on it, what I was really saying was that I was not enough.
mm,
Right. Who I was right at the time was not enough for this big prestigious occasion.
got
Right.
it.
So had to do a speech, had to run it by my English teacher, one of my favorite people in the world. She just recently passed away,
Mm,
but she poured into so many people's lives. And she was the honors English teacher. She was over like graduation speeches. She did a lot, right?
okay.
And so I went and got a thesaurus. You remember when like dictionaries and thesauruses were
Yes, I
like
had
they
the little pocket ones.
yes, yes. So when they were actually printed, right? Not like Google, not like the
Correct. You
know.
had I had a blue one. My thesaurus was blue and my dictionary
Mhm.
was red.
Was red. Exactly, yes. So that we probably had the same ones, right? And so when I sat down to write this speech, I had the thesaurus, I had the dictionary, and I found like all the $10 words. And I was like, let me string these together. I'm sure some of those sentences did not even make sense, right? You know how you can be so smart that now you dumb. Yeah.
Right?
So did all of that, took it to her, read it to her. I was so proud of it. And she was like, who wrote this?
Mm,
And I was like, I wrote it. And she said, but I know you, right? She said, this
yeah,
is not you. There was no mention of God anywhere in the speech.
got it.
And so, like you read at the beginning, ambassador of Christ, right?
Mhm.
Always, I'm Baptist, Southern Missionary Baptist. So,
Okay.
always been in church. And
Yeah.
I had actually spoken at her church for a youth day. So
Okay.
she knew I knew the Lord, right?
Yeah.
And so she was like, no, this doesn't sound like you. This not you. Yeah. And side note to everybody, real quick, make sure you got some folks around you that know you,
Yeah.
right? That know who you are for real.
That's good.
Right. And so she was like, nah, this not gonna work. You're gonna have to do this over.
I
And
love
so,
it.
you're right. She was like, nah, this not gonna fly. So scrapped it, went back, wrote from the heart, came back, and the speech was a success. I think more importantly, though, I can look back on that time and say I ended up being my authentic self
Okay.
in at a really important point in my
Yeah.
life.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that she didn't just allow you to go along with what you had written up, but
Right.
rather was like, you know what? This is not you.
She
I
was
know
like,
you
no,
saying you
ma'am.
wrote this, but go back to the drawing board, redo, rewind,
Mhm,
let's try again. I love that.
mhm.
Because so often maybe people aren't, maybe we don't, to the point you were making, maybe we don't have people in our space that
Mhm.
are pushing us to really be ourselves, or that can call out and be like, this is not you, this is
Right,
somebody else.
right.
I love that. Now, tell me, we talked a little bit about just how you have found community and having people in your space that are going to encourage you to be you. Can you share with the people that are viewing a little bit about, if you want to tell specifically about like your husband? I know we talked some about that,
Yeah.
or you could talk about your friends, whoever.
Mhm.
Um, how has that been an influence in you really being who you are?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I encourage everybody, and so connection is also one of my things, right? I
Okay.
want everybody to be connected to the people that they need to be connected to.
Mhm.
And so I always have been blessed really with a good support system, right?
That's
Family,
awesome.
people, friends,
Mhm.
and now, an awesome husband. And so, Raffinée, like we talked about, sometimes you have people that show up so authentically themselves that like it can only inspire you to
Yeah.
be more of you. And that's my husband. Right, I would say my husband and my brother actually. But like my husband is himself no matter where he is. So whether he is in front of naval officers for work or whether he is with his friends or whether we're in church, right? Like wherever
Yeah.
he is himself. And I had to learn early on in our relationship that I can't manage other people's expectations of him,
Mhm.
especially when he doesn't care about other people's expectations, right?
Yeah.
And his personality is so infectious that like anybody that meets him falls in love with him,
Yeah.
right? But if he has a question to ask, he's gonna ask it. Anybody that knows him knows he takes a speaker wherever he goes because he loves music. That's just
Oh,
one of his
like a
things,
portable speaker.
a
Come
portable
on.
speaker.
Yes. I
So
support that.
just real quick, when he proposed,
Mhm.
I thought nothing of it that he pulled out a speaker at dinner,
Got
right?
it.
Like, because he carries one around, right? And so it was his graduation, and I had put together a party, a graduation party. And so when he got up to say what I thought was his thank you speech, right? He pulls out a speaker. Everybody at the table, we had about 20 people there. They were like, "Oh, okay." Right? Like the
Right.
people that didn't know, they were just like, "Oh, that's Kevin." Right? Like that's what he does, right? So he's going to ask questions. He's going to get clarity. He's going to carry a speaker with him. He's
Yeah.
going to carry a little pocket notebook and a pen
Okay.
because he's going to write notes. And
Mhm.
he's like, "Yep, that's me. All right, that's who I am."
I love
And
it.
what he does for me is he gives me the space and the encouragement and sometimes a
Mhm.
push, right, to make sure that I am being fully myself and
Yeah.
I'm filling up all the space that I have to
Mhm.
fill up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, do you find that this is still like a work in progress? Because I think sometimes when we talk
Mhm.
about things like this that we're too busy for, like
Mhm.
I give the disclaimer, y'all, I'm not perfect. And some of these things I'm still
Mhm.
figuring out and I'm still growing in them.
Yeah.
Would you say that that is true for you, that you're still kind of evolving in this, really being all of who you are?
Definitely. Definitely, right? So I tell everybody this is a journey,
Hmm.
right? And so part of the journey is being gentle with yourself when you have like bumps in the road, right? I
Yeah.
call them like in therapy, I call them speed bumps, right?
Okay.
Like you're going along and then sometimes there's a little hiccup, right?
Hmm.
What I'm noticing is that I at least try to show up authentically, right? Like I try to show up as me, even if it's a small piece every
Okay.
single day.
Got it. Give me an
And
example.
sure. So for one, like Chuck Taylor's, right?
Okay.
So like I love my t-shirts. You see, I got on t-shirts. My live, when I do Facebook Live, I usually always have on a t-shirt.
Okay.
I can't wear t-shirts to work. That is not part of the
Okay.
uniform, right? But I can wear Chuck Taylors.
Nice.
Right,
Okay.
and that's just something that I've kinda always done.
Mhm.
I actually remember I was in my internship at University of Florida, and I was in the hospital, working in the hospital, and I'm on the floor, and this surgeon came around, and he was probably maybe like 30 something, right? 31, 32, and he's in there in his scrubs and a pair of Chuck Taylors.
Mm.
And he was working with kids, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." I was like,
Yeah.
"Mine are in my car," right? Like, I took them off to put on, the nice little, flats that therapists wear,
Yeah.
whatever, and at that point, he gave me the space, right? Just him being
Wow.
himself
Yeah.
gave me the space. I started wearing my Chuck Taylors the next day.
Really? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, that's just part of who I am. I like them. I like the look. I like the feel. And so I
Mhm.
will do that, right? Or my favorite colors are red, purple, and black. Right. I'll
Okay.
make sure that I have on some red or I have on some black or some purple.
Yeah.
Right. My earrings, that's a big deal for me. My
Okay.
glasses are a big deal for me. So,
Yeah.
things that I enjoy, I try to make sure that I have those
Mhm.
on me. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good, because I think sometimes when, especially when we're thinking about like code switching and showing up authentically in the workplace or in a
Mhm.
corporate environment. I don't work in a corporate environment, so I'm like, I wear whatever I want to wear to work.
Right.
But I
Right.
realize that that's not everybody's life. And
Yeah.
so there is sometimes that tension and struggle of, how can I be authentically myself in a space that maybe it seems like it's shunned or where it's
Mhm.
not encouraged. And so I love the idea of, even if it's something small like your earrings or your glasses or the
Mhm.
colors that you choose to wear, like, still allowing that to be part of you bringing your authentic self to the space that
Right.
you're in. That's really,
Right.
really good.
Yeah, and what I love is that it gives other people space to be them, right? Or it
Hmm.
helps you form that connection. So, like in
Absolutely.
therapy, right, it's really important for us to build rapport. And
Yeah.
so, my kids might, want to know about my glasses or my hair. That's another one, right?
Hmm.
So I don't straighten my hair just because I like my curl pattern and I want to
Yeah.
keep it,
Yeah.
right? So, I'll do this or it'll be out or it'll be up in a
Yeah.
puff or whatever, and I have had patients of color say to me, "Oh my goodness, I love your hair. I go to a school where maybe a lot of people don't look like me. And I didn't
Mm,
know, but like you're wearing your hair and you're a doctor, right? So I can wear
yeah.
my hair." And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, you don't have to straighten your hair. We don't have to go through all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And it's almost like you're paying forward what that doctor did for you like all those years
Mhm,
ago. He may not have even known that
mhm.
you impacted him in that way, that where the next day you were like, you know what, I'll put my chucks on when I go in here.
Right. Right.
But you get that opportunity with your clients and your patients and probably lots of other people that you're encountering that you may or may not know of.
Yeah, definitely,
I
definitely,
love
and
that.
I feel like that's part of our job, right? That's part of at least our responsibility, I should say, right? To make space for people who are trying to figure this out, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we've figured some of it out, and like you said, we're still on the journey. We're still, we're having some
Absolutely.
missteps sometimes, but we're trying to get it. And because we're further along on this journey, we do need to reach back and create space for other people.
Hmm. Now, tell me, you said, excuse me, you said that when we talked, like it's important that you live on purpose. That was one of the
Yeah,
discussions that we have. I want
yeah.
us to talk a little bit about that before we go today. So tell me, when you think about purpose, what does that
Mhm.
mean to you? Because as I've talked with people, purpose and even in my own life experience,
Mhm.
purpose has sometimes seemed like this far off thing that I'll achieve at some point in the
Right,
future.
right. It's like the
It's like this,
destination.
correct. It's like this big
Yeah.
place I'm moving toward. And
Mhm.
I don't agree with that as much now, but can you tell us, what does purpose mean to you? Like when you think about that word?
Yes, definitely. So for me, purpose is my assignment at the time. And I
Okay.
think that was one of the things that we talked about, right? Like
Mhm.
living on purpose in the moment.
Yeah.
And so part of me being me and all of us being authentic is really owning the fact that we are exactly where we're supposed to be right now. Not to say that we're going to stay there, right? But
Yeah.
we're where we're supposed to be right now. And we have been equipped with the tools we need for our purpose right now.
Mm.
All right. So like
Mhm.
this it's not this far off thing that we're attaining to get to. We have work to do right now.
Yeah.
We
Very
have an
true.
assignment right now. And
Mhm.
everything that we need is on the inside of us. All right. Like God has already placed it there.
Mhm.
All we have to do is actually unlock it. And part of unlocking that is being our authentic self.
Yeah. It's it makes me think about the fact that, we are not a mistake. And like our
Man.
gifts that we have, our
Yeah.
talents, the things that are true about us. I was literally just having a conversation yesterday with an old professor of mine from college, from grad school.
Mhm.
And this professor was so influential in my life because she called out some stuff when we were like watching videos. Y'all,
Mhm.
when you're in counseling school, you record yourself doing therapy and then you
Yep.
go to class and have to watch it in front of your
Mhm. In front of
professors
everybody.
and
Mhm.
get feedback. And so when we were doing that, my professor at the time went to the church where I attended. And
Ah.
so she would see me singing on the weekends. And she said, Raffinée, I want you to stay back after class. And so I was like, okay, am I in trouble? Like,
Right.
what did I do?
Right.
So she says to me, I want you to bring the presence that you bring when you're singing to the therapy
Mm.
room. She said, there is
Mm.
something captivating that I see when you're on
Mhm.
the platform singing that I want to encourage you to bring to the therapy room. She said,
Mm.
you've got this book knowledge and all this stuff that we teach you, but you also
Mhm.
have to pair that with you. And it
Mhm.
was so freeing because I think not just in our field, probably in other fields too, you
Right.
get this book knowledge and information that you learn,
Right.
but it's different than the actual application of that. The way that I show up in the
Mhm.
therapy room, even as a therapist, is going to be very different than the way another therapist shows up in the therapy
Exactly.
room because they're
Exactly.
not me.
And so what you're talking about, Raffinée, is what I call magic. Right?
Yes.
Like, that's your magic. And I talk to my patients about magic. I talk to families about magic because a lot of times, and you know this, like when they come to therapy, they think, especially when it's parents bringing a kid to therapy, they
Yeah.
think that the magic is us. Right.
Mm,
And we do
mm-hmm.
have our magic, but
Yeah.
that's not the magic that's going to help them solve whatever this concern is. The
Correct.
magic is really them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I always tell my parents, "Nope, you're not dropping them off. You're not, putting them in front of the screen and then you're going to do nope, this is
Yeah.
family therapy." And the
Mm-hmm.
reason it's family therapy is because your kid is interacting with all of these other, people in their environment. And so
Yeah.
we need, if there's going to be changes, we need environmental changes, right?
Absolutely.
And so I'll tell them, "You're the magic." Right? You think you're going to come and deposit them here with me and I'm going to like do some, hocus pocus, and then they're going to come out and want to do all their chores and yes ma'am, no ma'am.
Right.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. That's not the magic that's happening, right?
Yeah.
And that's the same in, when we think about ourselves. And for me, magic is mannerisms, your attitude, your genuineness, your identity, and your core values. Those are the
Yes.
things that make up your
That's
magic.
good.
Right. And so, and for everybody, just shameless plug, I have a workshop about magic.
Yes. Come on,
Well,
plug.
if you want to hear more about how you find your magic, right? Just hit me up and we're gonna drop some links in the chat in a little bit so you guys
Yes.
can find me. But
I'm
yeah,
coming. Okay.
yeah, look, come on. Yes. But when we talk about our magic, like you said a minute ago, and it really struck me, we are not a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There is nothing about us that was not intentional.
Yeah.
And when you can accept that, when you can really like take that in, and then you know what your magic is, you know how to impact really the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now
Mm-hmm.
you're walking as yourself. You found the voice that's on the inside of you, right? That
Absolutely.
voice is now being amplified. You're able to use your voice. So you are living in really the purpose God has for you, and you're impacting people just by being you.
Yeah. I love that. Listen, I'm gonna be telling folks all the time. I'm be like, baby, I'm living in my magic.
Listen, yes, yes. You better talk about your magic.
Now, what I know you gonna tell us about your workshop, but
Mhm,
can you just give us a nugget of like if somebody is trying to figure out how do I even find my magic or where do I begin? Like,
mhm.
is there a good starting place or like should they start with their traits? Should they start with things about their personality maybe
Yeah.
or something else?
Yeah, so that first one, mannerisms,
Okay.
right? So that could be your smile, the way you smile, your tone of voice,
Mm,
the way you string words together, right? So I
yeah.
tell people I am definitely a Southern belle at heart. Some of my accent is gone since I've been in Maryland for so long,
Yeah.
but I am definitely a Southern belle. And so there are some things about me. There are some mannerisms that just come from where I grew up and the people that I were around that sets me apart a lot of times from other people.
Yeah.
Just maybe this Saturday, I was getting my hair done, and my hairstylist had a trainee working with her, right? Like she's teaching somebody.
Okay.
And they looked at me and they said, "Miss Christy, where are you from?" I said, "Oh, you can hear my accent?" And she was like, "Yes." She was like, "It's so nice." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't, I call it accent because they call it accent. For me, it's just how
Okay.
I talk, right?"
Yeah.
But mannerisms, like what are the things about you that you like? And then like you said, what are those traits, right? So also attitude and approach. So with your approach, how do you look at life? Nobody looks at life quite the way you do because they don't have your experiences.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
So your approach is really how you took your experiences, you took your past, and this is how you approach situations. This is how
Mhm.
you approach life.
Mhm.
And it has to be unique because it's yours.
Yeah.
So when we really get in tune with ourselves, that's when we start to learn a lot about our magic. And
That's
in
good.
order to be in tune with ourselves, we have to be gentle with ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm. Y'all better get into this workshop. Listen, I'm gonna be up in there.
Yes.
So let me ask you this before we kind of start coming to a close. What did it cost you to
Mm.
not be yourself?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one. So not being me cost me a lot of time. It cost me a lot of worry, right?
Mm,
Not being me triggered anxiety. Right. And so, and for people that watch my lives, you guys know we talk about what's clinical anxiety, right? And then what's just kind of like typical worry, right?
yeah,
Well, sometimes that typical worry can be exacerbated when we are not being our authentic selves, when we're
totally.
given too much space and too much time to what other people think, or really what we think other people think. Because that's another thing, right?
Yes,
Right. Like sometimes we don't even know, we just
correct.
perceiving it that way, right?
Yep.
And so, Raffinée, what I figured out is because I have an assignment, because I have a purpose, because God has a plan for me, and because I think He has a lot for me to do, I don't have time to get, sidetracked with distractions,
Yeah.
right? I can't be concerned about all things, right? I can
Mhm,
only do what He has tasked me to do,
mhm.
right? And make sure that I am doing it in love and doing it to the best of my ability.
Yeah. I love that. That's really good. Listen, I would say I'm gonna answer my own question too, since we're talking about it. Not being me cost me really getting to know and love Raffinée.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when I
Yeah.
think back about times in my life when I've tried to be someone else or something that I wasn't, or put on for
Mhm.
my city is what I
Yeah.
like to say, like the song.
Right.
Uh, I missed out on the opportunity to really know and learn me.
Mhm.
Like, who
Mhm.
is this girl? Like, what is it about me now that I know magic? I'm gonna be using that.
Mhm.
But like, what is it about me that is unique that I can bring to all the spaces, to the
Right.
world, to the
Right.
workplace, to my friendships and my family, and really come to know and love and accept that. And one of the first things I remember that I hated was my gap. Like when I
Mm.
was younger, I've
Mm.
always felt so self-conscious about it. And then I remember being in like maybe high school and my mom was like, "You want to get braces?" And I was like, "No, I like my gap." Like,
Right.
I don't even know when the shift happened. And I remember being like, "Oh, I guess I
I
like my
guess I do
gap now."
like right. I guess I do like my gap. Yeah.
But that is one of the most defining things I remember from my younger years, just like
Mm.
not really accepting that and being like, like I would keep my
Mm.
mouth closed quite a bit. And I love to talk,
Mm.
so that was kind of hard. Um,
Right.
but I did not want people to be looking at it because people made fun of me and they always said things about it. And I was just like, oh, I don't like it. And now I'm like, no, keep your
Right.
braces. Too
Right.
busy.
I don't need a right, too busy for that, right? Because again, like, for you, like, first of all, your smile is amazing,
Thank
right?
you.
And, like, you are exactly who you're supposed to be, right?
Hmm.
That gap helps define you,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. And
So,
no
like
shade to anybody that's got
right,
braces. That's just
right.
for me.
Hey, do you, right? Like, and
Yeah.
and that's really what we're talking about. Do you, whatever that is.
Mhm.
I tell my kids all the time, they come in and they're like, "Oh, I don't like my hair. Oh, I gained some weight." We can do stuff about that. That's fine. You can change things about you that you don't find very appealing. That's okay.
Mhm.
And no judgment on either side, right?
Totally.
But when you know that like, "Oh, I like this about me," there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know? Mm.
So, let me ask you this. What, like, encouragement, final thought, nugget you wanna give to the people out there just about being themselves?
Yeah. So, what I would say to everybody, especially people that might be struggling to be themselves, figure out what it is you like we just talked about. Figure out what it is you like about you. Do that, right? Know
Mm,
that there is a place for that. The
yeah.
world is big enough for all of us to be exactly who we are, exactly who God made us, right?
Mhm.
And know that there is somebody that needs to hear you and see you, right? So,
Mm,
like Raffinée said, we're not a mistake. We're placed here on purpose. And
yeah.
there's somebody, I might say something one way and somebody not get it, but they hear from Raffinée and they're like, yep, got it. Right.
Very true.
Or, there are environments that I'm in that I know, like people have told me, trainees have told me later, I feel more comfortable just because you were there. Right.
Yeah,
So there's a place for all of us, and there's space for all of us to be exactly who we are.
I love it. Now, my question I'm asking everybody that's been here
Mhm.
this season, including you, is tell us what is something that you were previously too busy
Mhm.
for that you now have energy or time or that you're available for?
Yes. I have all the time for forgiveness.
Mm,
Okay. And so forgiveness of other people, but
yeah.
more so forgiveness for me. Right.
Okay.
I have all the time to be gentle with myself now. And that hasn't always been the case. I mean, even like recent years, right? I am very good at critiquing myself, right? But what I've had to learn is you too. Yeah. Well, what I've had to learn is there's nothing really good that comes out of being hard on yourself. Right? It doesn't really propel you towards
Yeah.
change. If anything, it makes you avoid. It makes you more likely to not show up as yourself. And then
Yeah.
that makes you like less effective.
That's good.
Yeah. So I have all the time now, Raffinée, for
Yes.
being being gentle with myself and forgiving myself and allowing space for mistakes because
Yeah.
mistakes happen. Yeah.
Hmm. Agreed, Latasha. I have all the time to give myself more grace and loving on me more. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Hey sis. So Raffinée, that is my best friend since I was 5 years
Oh,
old.
that's awesome.
Yeah, since I
Yes.
was five.
Welcome, best
Yeah.
friend.
She definitely is another one that pushes me to be me and all of me,
I love
right?
it.
All the time.
We
Yeah.
need that.
Yeah.
So tell us, Dr. Christy, Dr.
Okay.
CC, what do you have going on? You mentioned a workshop.
Yes.
Where can the people follow you? Give us all the information.
Yes, yes, all the things. So, y'all, I'm doing a lot right now. So, Raffinée knows my speaking coach, Dr. G. Dr.
Yes.
G has all of us doing like all of the things, right?
Correct.
And I love it, right? It,
Yes.
it literally gives me energy to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So, you guys can follow me on my professional pages. And really, if you follow my live, that's going to be on my personal page. But
Okay.
my professional pages, Heart and Soul MH. That's the word heart, the letter N, the word soul, the letter M, the letter H. Thank you, Raffinée. She dropped it there. So you can follow me there on Facebook and on Instagram.
Perfect.
I do a Facebook Live every Wednesday night. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. So we are doing all things mental health this month. So Wednesday nights, 8:30 Eastern Time. And that's on my personal page. So that is Christi Culpepper-Walker.
That's
Right.
tomorrow then.
Yep,
Tomorrow night.
that's tomorrow night. Tomorrow
Okay.
night, 8:30. And so Raffinée was talking about the workshop a little bit. So I have a number of workshops that I will be rolling out very soon. I also have a women's conference coming up October 15th, 2022 in Baltimore, Maryland. There'll be
Yes.
a virtual aspect for my people that can't make it up here, but it's called Free Before 40. And the idea is really what Raffinée and I were talking about tonight. How do we make space for people that might not be as far along on this journey as we are? Right.
Mhm.
So, Free Before 40 is for women of all ages. But the idea is how do we become free? How do we live authentically? How do we live happy, healthy, and whole as soon as possible?
Yeah.
Right. So we can make, even more of an impact on not just our lives, but our family, our loved ones, and also the world. All right. So if you guys can, I would love for you to join me October 15th,
Yeah.
2022,
I
here
will.
in Baltimore, Maryland.
Now let me ask you this. Is it gonna be cold by that time?
October, it won't be bad. It won't be bad.
Okay.
Yeah, like we're
Because
not
I'm
talking
like, I
about
live in Texas, so
look, and so we had this joke, my brother, because we have family, right? Like in your area. And so they always, whenever it gets real hot, they like to send us like, here's the temperature today in Texas. And my brother is like, does Jesus like Texas? He's
that's
like,
great.
he said, I think Jesus might be upset with Texas because why is it so hot?
Do you hear me? It is only May.
See? And right now, like I still had on a light jacket yesterday.
Jacket?
A
No.
light one, but yes.
No, ma'am. There are no jackets in sight.
So it'll get hot this summer, and October, like that time of October, it'll be a nice, like going into fall, so you'll
Okay.
still be able to walk on the water and,
Yes.
do all of that, do some shopping and all of that good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
This
thank
was
you
a
for having
phenomenal.
me.
Absolutely. It was my
Thank
pleasure to
you.
have you. And y'all go follow Dr. Christi. Okay. So she's at Heart and Soul MH on Facebook and Instagram. And then you can check out the Free Before 40 event. The link is in the comments. I'm also going to include it in the text, whether you're watching this or listening. So you'll be able to click that to get more information and to follow Dr. Christi. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, whether you're listening or watching from wherever you are. It is my pleasure to be here every Tuesday. And I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Christi, for making some time to be here with us tonight.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So y'all, until next Tuesday, y'all join me next Tuesday. We having another guest. We have a guest actually the rest of this month. So you
I
don't
love
want to
it.
miss this. So
Yes.
join us next week, Tuesday, May the 17th, 6:00 Central Standard Time for Too Busy Tuesday. Hey. See y'all next week. Peace.